Tuesday, September 27th. Sorry, kids who are still home dead. We hope you come back to join us soon. You've missed 2 really entertaining and fun days. We do have homework due tomorrow, which I'll pop up there in a second to show you. And actually, I'm going to write myself a quick note before I call on the kid real quick. Let's see, I need to do a remind of homework. Here we go. Right on my hand, yeah. If you do it too often, though, it sticks. It's embarrassing. And so we have the homework due tomorrow, house point game tomorrow, e-learning on Friday, question from Sterner.
You spelled landlady wrong.
Oh, I thought I did that one too. I've had the word utensil spelled wrong for a week and just no one caught it, so I gave up after a while. No, it's spelled right now because I gave up on you, but I spelled it as utensil.
We don't know how to spell utensil.
So I've learned. I gave up after a week of waiting for you guys to figure it out. I figured we'd have to go a little bit easier, so.
But he had a giant green arrow pointing to his mistake.
On one of them, yes, but not all the time. I mean, literally, the arrow was there yesterday, and the spelling wrong right there. So, what's important is that you guys are dumb and have it. I mean, I would never say that on a video recording because that is wrong. Back to here. This is the homework that you have due tomorrow. Just to remind you, I'll try to send it out on Remind. It is also on this magical place called Canvas, and then I'll be coming around tomorrow. We do have official plans for tomorrow. We're going to be doing a thing, and then same thing for Thursday. Finally figured out what I wanted to do. Tomorrow is going to be memorable.
What are we doing? I thought that was supposed to be today.
Oh, today is memorable also. We're going to have 2 back-to-back memorable days.
That's not good.
I'm going to spoil you guys.
That is so nice.
We did this. I'll have to show you guys that. Foreshadowing. I thought I fixed it right now. And then the foreshadow. There we go. And apparently, you guys feel you've already started picking up on foreshadowing.
Yeah. This lady is like a creepy.
We are going to find out more today as we finish the story. Then you'll figure out which parts of your foreshadowing was accurate and which part was you guys just being sus.
I think it's the ice.
I think she's related to Jada, the landlady.
Well, I mean, so far, the landlady's really nice and kind, and Jada's really nice and kind. So I think you're right. I see a direct correlation.
Oh no, oh no.
I was talking about the Jada. It's like, maybe later that one might be.
How ridiculous on me.
Yeah. I thought everybody did.
So, who is the main character in story so far?
Billy Weaver.
W-E-A-V-E-R. Weaver. Then, when is our story taking place?
1997.
A while ago.
1950s back.
A while ago, I'll accept. What time of day?
Nighttime.
Nighttime. Where?
At the lab.
And where's the house located?
Britain.
Bath, which is inside of Britain, which is also.
Wait, the
And
it's
then,
winter.
where was he supposed to go for the night?
Bell and Dragon.
Which is a
Hotel.
nicely done. And then what pulls him into this place?
Magical sign that has eyes on it.
No, it feels like it has eyes on it. There's no actual eyes on it. Although bed and there's no eye. There's no eye in bed or breakfast.
Really?
No, E-Y-E, not I.
I'm trying.
I know.
What do we know about the dachshund?
It's
cute.
But it's fake.
Is
it not pronounced National? No, it's not.
What if it's a robot?
You are right. That is a fake one.
Yeah.
That one right there.
Oh, but that's the cutest one.
It is. It's called. There were these pets when I was a kid called Perfect Pets, and they look like real dogs. And when I was googling pictures of dachshunds to put up there, it popped up with that, and I was like, oh. By the way, that was also fake. In case you were trying to figure it out. So those ones I think are real. I don't know. I mean, hang on, let's find out. No, it's not living. It might be fake too. And so we get to the dachshund. What does he say about seeing the dachshund and the parrot?
It's a good sign because they're not abusive.
Correct. Although
he's
you
the black
guys seem to be having all. You're right. The black cat would be a sign, and so he does recognize the fact that things seem to be going well here. And then there's our bed and breakfast with no eye in it. And let's see the fact that he stays there. And that introduces our second character, which would be
Old creepy lady.
So, You yell creepy at me. What verifiable evidence have we come across that you guys could say is creepy? That is not just, that we can't just dismiss as weird old people, as we saw Mrs. Butts came in and talked to Jada, walked outside, and had to come right back in and talk to Jada, because us older people might have
Miss
issues.
Butts isn't old. You're old.
She's older than I am.
Oh, wait for real?
Then you're older.
You guys are awesome. Your inability to tell how age works is great.
Nah, she's younger.
My oldest kid is still in high school. Both of her kids are graduated and out in the real world, like teaching and stuff.
Yeah,
like
what
that.
if she...
So,
Never mind.
Sterner,
She was like, I was expecting you.
because she wants to rent out her room, so she is expecting visitors. I mean, that makes perfect sense so far. Brycely,
She was going like,
so she looked at him to make sure that he's not creepy. I think that was very smart on her part. Lena?
he kept commenting on his looks and like how perfect he was.
Yes, how unhuman-like to compliment someone's looks. Apparently, we just talked about this Friday with popularity and the fact that playing sports and being good-looking makes you popular. So she was seeing if maybe he's popular. She was seeing if he was good-looking and played sports. Works for me. Dragoo!
The last two residents she had at her hotel, like last stayed there like 2 and 3 years ago.
So she's not very
I have something
popular? No.
suspicious.
Busy?
Suspicious.
So she's that she doesn't make a lot of money?
Yeah, because she's a broke old lady.
I don't. That's why eggs are expensive.
Suspicious.
Avi. Jada.
So, well, I think why she's creepy, I don't think she's creepy personally, but she had, like, she was like,
Holding the tea set?
yeah, the tea set.
Well, she might have balance issues. It's possible.
She's old. She's not...
Older. Older.
She was never.
Cora?
She's she's only had, according to her guest book, she's only had like men stay there. That's a
Now-
little weird because like I don't know, like I feel like if you're at a hotel, you'd have like every person.
Nowadays, yes, but this was taking place shortly after World War II, so like the 1950s, and women did not travel a whole lot, so it was more men. If you were a woman traveling around, that was considered suspicious. So, yeah, I know. Women's rights, that's why we fight for them now. But yes, 70 years ago, it was a little bit different in the world. Grapple.
Well, she keeps calling his last name, not his actual last name, and she's only had 2 people ever stay at her house.
No, just the most recent 2. I'm sure
I
there's
thought
other
so.
ones in there. I think he just mentioned those 2.
Are you
Not like
foreshadowing?
only 2. Which rhymes with Loo-hoo.
So I think isn't it like suspicious that she only had like good-looking guys instead of like
We haven't
No,
seen them
no.
yet.
She happened to compliment the fact that she's had good-looking guys stay there in the past.
why is she
But
bragging?
she might have really low standards.
But aren't good-looking guys like more popular? So should she gain more popularity or should that?
Well, maybe there's not as many good-looking guys traveling around, and she's like,
at
oh,
least 2.
I got it.
Dragoo?
She said she compared Billy to looking like the other 2 people who had stayed there who were on the guest list. And a lot of people who do something bad, they like look for people who have something in common.
Wow, that seems like a bit of a suspicious reach trying to, because you're going like the serial killer route where they all have like the same.
Because the thing is, like, they
But she has a shed full of human fingers.
Bothering me.
But she has a
Sanka?
shed full of human fingers.
She opened the door right as he knocked.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not like
actually
she
creepy.
sleeps in front of
Well,
the
here,
door.
what?
Waiting for it.
She's
No one's been to her hotel in like 2 years. Maybe she's excited someone
So
finally
she's
got there.
sleeping in front of the
Bryce,
door.
hang on. Brycely, OC, and I get to move on.
Okay, so I think it was pretty suspicious that it's a bed and breakfast and she offered him dinner. That's pretty weird.
Oh,
So you're finding it suspicious that she's being nice to him?
She's not.
But it's just bed and breakfast.
It
No,
should be
bed,
she should
dinner,
call it
and breakfast.
bed, dinner, and breakfast.
Okay.
No, hotel
or
bed.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's
You guys just don't like
bed,
confidence.
breakfast, bathroom, blah, blah,
Alright.
blah.
Let's continue. So we get to the hot water bottle that she put into the bed to help warm
Oh,
it
it's
up.
like she was expecting him too. Like,
She was expecting him. And then we got to the hotel record book, and that's where he knows the names. And then the tea set, that the bringing in and holding the tea set up high with my tea set, which we'll come back to in a moment. And then we had just finished talking about Because he's trying to, the names. He thinks he knows the name. He's talking about a cricketer. So that's what he's talking about there. Wally, as I start. What's up?
So what if the old lady filled the hot water bottle with poison, and then the fumes from the poison kill him?
I don't
Good
think that's how it
thinking.
works.
Too gross.
But the problem is, those are sealed. Because if not, water comes out. So if water can't come out, I don't think your
It's a
killer
watertight
fumes can get you.
seal.
It's
Yeah.
too long.
She's
All right.
afford it.
Yeah, she's too gross.
So we're going to back up slightly. So we're on the back side, second to last column. Let's see. So we did the famous once more. So look here. This last entry it
Get
is.
the him spelling out his name.
That's right.
Weaver.
Weaver, W-E-A-V-E-R.
How
All right.
silly is it?
And I do have part 2 here that we'll get to in a second. All right. We'll start where it says it's Weaver. So, how time does fly away from us all, doesn't it, Mr. Wilkins? No, it's Weaver. W-E-A-V-E-R. Oh, of course it is, she cried, sitting down on the sofa. How silly of me. I do apologize. In one ear and out the other. That's me, Mr. Weaver. You know something? Something that's really quite extraordinary about all this. No, dear, I don't. Well, you see, okay, both of these names, Mulholland and Temple, I not only seem to remember each of them separately, so to speak, but somehow or other, in some peculiar way, they both appear to be sort of connected together as well, as though they were both famous for the same sort of thing. If you see what I mean, like Dempsey and Tunney, for example, or Churchill and Roosevelt. Names I didn't think you would know because they're back from the 1950s.
I know who Churchill and
Is
Roosevelt
that
are.
assistant
Nicely
president?
done.
Yeah.
Roosevelt, the president.
So the first one were this famous boxing match between Dempsey and Tunney, where it was the idea of like this first big throwdown. And so anytime you heard one of their names, you almost always heard the other one connected with it, because this was like the biggest match ever. And so the fact that I always had those names connected. Churchill and Roosevelt, probably recognize those.
Yeah.
So Churchill was the leader of Britain during World War II. Roosevelt was the leader of the United States during World War II. And because they were the two big allies in the war, their names were often connected. So that's why he's saying, I connect these two names together. Whatever it is they're famous for, they were famous for like the same thing. Nicely done. How amusing, she said. But come over here now, dear, and sit down beside me on the sofa, and I'll give you a nice cup of tea and a ginger biscuit before you go to bed. You really shouldn't bother. I mean, I didn't mean for you to do anything like that. He stood by the piano, watching her as she fussed about with the cups and saucers. He noticed that she had small, white, quickly moving hands and red fingernails. I'm almost positive it was in the newspapers I saw them. Good, but I'll think of it in a second. I'm sure I will. There's nothing more tantalizing than a thing like this, which lingers just outside the borders of one's memory. He hated to give it up. Now, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Mulholland. Aha, Christopher Mulholland. Wasn't that the name of the Eton schoolboy who was on a walking tour through the West County, and then all of a sudden, milk? Sugar?
No.
Yes, please. And then all of a sudden, Eton schoolboy? Oh no, my dear, that can't possibly be right, because my Mr. Mulholland was certainly not an Eton schoolboy when he came to me. He was a Cambridge undergraduate. Come over here now and sit next to me and warm yourself in front of this lovely fire. Come on, your tea's all ready for you. She patted the empty space beside her on the sofa, and she sat there smiling at Billy and waiting for him to come over.
I need more.
See? Nothing suspicious yet. She's giving him tea and biscuits. We're all good. Caleb?
I have a prediction.
Okay.
So,
We'll come back to that in a second.
there are two people missing,
Uh-huh.
and she has two animals, and she seems to magically know that he was coming, and
Wait a
I'm
minute.
really
There's a
suspicious.
difference between coincidence and causation.
Where does it say there's two animals? Wasn't there just one?
Parrot and the dog.
The parrot can fly and watch him.
Jada?
I think that he's gonna like trip in the fire.
And Sanka?
How she remember this kid when was an
I think she
undergraduate?
took their
She can
soul and
barely
stuffed
probably
it in the
remember her
animals,
age.
and then the parents
she
just
can
lied.
Well, obviously older people sometimes have
She
good
can't
memories.
remember Weaver, but she can remember a word.
He might have stayed there longer.
No.
Yeah,
Let's
he's still there.
He's still there.
He's still there.
Still there.
Hey, I guessed it too.
at the very beginning, when he first walked in, were there any other hats, coats, or umbrellas?
No, because
And
she's
then-
wearing those.
And what did she say as they walked up the stairs?
Nobody else.
First
is
floor's mine.
Yeah, we have this place all to ourselves. So
That's not good.
they're not.
Oh
Yeah, this place, the basement is where they're.
We shall continue. Billy crossed the room slowly, and by the way, yes, I'm not giving you the ending of it yet. You'll just have to wait. And sat down on the edge of the sofa. She placed his teacup on the table in front of him. There we are. How nice and cozy this is, isn't it? Billy started sipping his tea. She did the same, and for half a minute or so, neither of them spoke. But Billy knew that she was looking at him. Her body was half turned towards him, and he could feel her eyes resting on his face, watching him over the rim of her teacup. Now and again, he caught a whiff of a peculiar smell that seemed to emanate directly from her person. It was not in the least bit unpleasant. No, it reminded him, well, he wasn't quite sure what it reminded him of, like maybe pickled walnuts? No, new leather. Corridors of a hospital? He couldn't place it. At length, she said, Mr. Mulholland was a great one for his tea. Never in my life have I seen anyone drink as much tea as dear sweet Mr. Mulholland.
Oh no.
No, I suppose he left fairly recently, Billy said. He was still puzzling his head about the two names. He was positive now that he had seen them in the newspapers and in the headlines. Left? She said, arching her brows. Oh, my dear boy, he never left. He's still here. Mr. Temple's also here. They're on the third floor. Both of them. Together.
What?
Billy
Dead body in the attic.
set down his cup slowly on the table and stared at his landlady. She smiled back at him, and then she put out one of her white hands and patted him comfortingly on the knee. How old are you, my dear?
Oh my god.
Oh no.
17. 17! That is the perfect age. Mr. Mulholland was also 17.
Oh no.
But-
Get out of there. Get out of there.
But I think he was a trifle shorter than you are. In fact, I'm sure he was. And his teeth weren't quite so white. You have the most beautiful teeth, Mr. Weaver. Did you know that?
Oh no.
Oh, they're not as good as they look, Billy said. They've got simply masses of fillings in them at the back. Now, Mr. Temple, of course, he was a little bit older, she said, ignoring his remark. He was actually 28, and yet I never would have guessed it if he hadn't told me. Never in my whole life. There wasn't a blemish on his entire body. A what? Billy said. His skin was just like a baby's. Real quick, do you guys know what a blemish is?
I saw the picture.
Yeah. So yeah, blemishes are when you have like spots and stuff like that. So that's what she's referring to as like scars, pimples, and things like that.
Yeah, I know what texted her.
Wait, I saw that.
I
There
know.
were raccoons.
Wait, I didn't see it. What was it? It was texted
There was a pause.
Animals.
Billy picked up his teacup and took another sip of his tea. Then he set it down again gently in its saucer. He waited for her to say something else, but she seemed to have lapsed into another of her silences. He sat there, staring straight ahead of him into the far corner of the room, biting his lower lip. That parrot, he said last. You know something? That had me completely fooled when I first saw it through the window from the street. I could have sworn it was alive. No, alas, no longer. It is most terribly clever the way it's been done. It doesn't look in the least bit dead. Who'd you have do it? Oh, no, I did it. Wait, you did it?
She taxidermied the
Of
people.
course. And have you met my little Basil as well? She nodded towards the dachshund, cuddled up and comfortably in front of the fire.
It's dead.
Billy looked at it, and suddenly he realized that this animal had all the time been just as silent and motionless as the parrot. He put out a hand and touched it gently on the top of its back. The back was hard and cold, and when he pushed the hair to one side with his fingers, he could see the skin underneath, grayish black and dry and perfectly preserved. So in case you're unaware of what taxidermy is.
I told you that.
Good gracious me, he said. That is absolutely fascinating. He turned away from the dog and stared with deep admiration at the little woman beside him on the sofa. It must be most awfully difficult to do a thing like that. Oh, no, not in the least. I stuff, well, all my little pets myself when they pass away. Will you have another cup of tea? Oh, no, thank you, Billy said. The tea tasted faintly of bitter almonds, and he didn't much care for it. Oh, you did sign the book, didn't you? Yeah, I did when I came down. That's good, because later on, if I happen to forget what you are called, then I can always come down here and look it up. I still do that almost every day with Mr. Mulholland and Mr. Temple, Billy said. Gregory Temple. Excuse my asking, but haven't there been any other guests here except them in the last 2 or 3 years? Holding her teacup in one hand and inclining her head slightly to the left, she looked up at him out of the corners of her eyes and gave him another gentle little smile. No, dear. Only you. And that's where the story ends. Now, hang on. I told you there is a definite ending to the story. This is where our foreshadowing clues come in.
Those animals and the animals are the people because
So yeah, that's where the story ends. And this is where teaching kicks in, where now I get to help guide you. Because pretty much whatever you're thinking probably isn't bad enough.
What?
First of all, let's go with
What is that?
That is a terrible time.
right? I'm so happy when I found that one. I was like, that one's not bad. And then you're like, oh, what's going on? And then down here. Sorry, it just made me smile. All right, so we find out the dachshund and the parrot, they are both
I called it.
dead and taxidermy. And who did the taxidermy? The landlady herself. Nicely done. And so the end of the story is on canvas, so if you end up wanting to go back and read it or, entertain your parents, it is there. So, foreshadowing. Let's walk you through and help you figure out what happens at the end of this story.
That there that cuts open these animals.
So, here's the first big one.
Oh, no.
Billy's tea tasting of bitter almonds. It is a Yes, Cora?
Okay, well, I was seeing this thing online where it was like there's a specific poison that's found in almonds in like a large quantity of almonds.
It's also found in apple seeds.
Yeah,
Both.
so I think it's called.
Johnny.
I don't remember what it's called. I think cyanide is.
Yes,
But
correct.
I think so.
So, bitter almonds is a very specific taste that is found only from cyanide. And you can get cyanide from it is in very, very small traces in almonds, and it is also found in slightly larger traces in both cherry pits and in apple seeds. It helps them grow. And so you can go on this magical place called the internet, and you can find your own deadly secrets. So, what does this tell us then?
Cyanide poison?
And where is the cyanide?
In
In his teeth.
And that's why she offered him another one.
And she did. So what does
And
that
the
tell us
two
is going to
guys
happen?
dead in the
She's gonna stuff them.
And the dog and parrot are taxidermy. And who does the taxidermy? Now, did you catch what little phrase she says when he says who does the taxidermy? And she says, I do. And then she follows it up with,
I do it.
What? I don't have the story.
I do it to all of my pets when they pass away.
That's not nice.
So it tells us she's not good at living things, but she's really good at stuffing things.
So she stuffs people.
She is aware of the skin conditions of her guests.
Oh
I
no!
studied this from like 2 years ago.
So how would she know that they had?
Because she did things
not a blemish
She
on their
makes them
body.
into
She
human
taxidermies
sushi
them.
rolls.
We'll just call it hobby time. That she is aware of what their skin looks like because of her hobbies. She smells like a hospital, leather, or pickles.
Dead body.
Dead body.
Rotting body.
No, but you're close.
Oh,
She smells
Blood.
like
Oh, the supplies you need for
killing
taxidermy.
The supplies you need for taxidermy, which apparently she has prepared. There's these things. I don't know if you guys have done yet. In science, you get to dissect worms and stuff like
We haven't done
that.
that yet.
And before they pull them out, they keep them in this stuff called formaldehyde, which is a preservative, which is a thing that you're going to find with leather because you prevent it from going bad. Pickles, because it's sort of the same idea, you're preventing pickles from going bad. And hospitals, because of old people. And so that's why she has the smell to her, because she's been prepping her hobby time.
Ice knife.
She keeps pushing Billy to drink his tea.
Poison.
And so once he's had the tea, that's when she starts letting things slip. Because you'll notice she doesn't say a whole lot until she gets him to come have a seat next to me on the couch. So then
He's
once
very
he sits
intent
down,
on watching him to drink the tea.
and she's very intent on getting him to drink the tea. And then once he has the tea, then she just starts talking.
You're like,
And
yeah,
she
I
was
know,
like,
I
yeah,
murder people.
I know about blemishes and teeth, and I know about this thing and that thing, and the fact that the very beginning we find out that, of course, there's no one else here. But then what does she say later on?
They're on the floor.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. How could they still be here if you said earlier that we're the only ones? Uh-huh.
That's why she offered to give Billy almond biscuits.
And that's why she does this. She'll probably get a little ginger biscuit, not an almond biscuit. You could try. Here's a little ginger biscuit. Almond biscuit, yes, that'd be even more suspicious on that one. But the
Oh yeah, I knew it. I called it.
They've definitely gone missing.
They went missing.
Ah.
I called it.
So that was why he recognizes both of those names. And of course, you guys picked up on it because I heard your little intake hisses. Whenever he was trying to figure out what was going on, she would cut him off. As soon as he was like, wait, I know. Tea? Would you like some milk in that? No. And so she kept doing the distracting thing every time he kept
It was
getting closer
almond
to
milk,
it.
wasn't it, too?
I don't think they had almond milk back then.
I bet they did.
Right? And ooh, why does she want to make sure he is
So that she remembers
Remember his
them.
name.
Does she care about reporting it?
No.
There is every chance she never reports any of this at all. This is just her, that thing that Dragoo talked about the idea of them all having things in common.
Like their
Because a serial
trophies.
killer has to have a little souvenir.
Yeah, trinkets of the
And
past.
so she just happens to keep the entire body as a souvenir. But of course, you can't go ask them what
What
their
about
name
the
is.
death air? Is that
human
foreshadowing?
dolls?
So you have to keep it in there. Don't worry, there's even more.
I knew it!
When he arrives, there's no other hats or coats in the closet.
She burned them.
Nicely done. She has disposed of all of them. And we get to, they were all alone, and later the others never left.
In the attic, dead taxidermy.
There you
When
go.
she plays human dolls.
Why was the price of the room so cheap?
Because
She's gonna die.
So that was the whole, basically she's just fishing. And she was like, I can make it cheaper. How about a nickel? How about two
you
pennies?
can also just steal
I just
their,
want you to stay. And so,
you can also just steal their stuff when they die.
right? Once he's dead, she gets all of his
You can
money.
just say it's free.
Now, will anyone come looking here for him?
No.
Because where are they going to go look?
Dragon.
Which makes it even better, because they don't even know to come look here for him in the
What was
first
the
place.
eyes on the side though?
And then, I don't know. That part is never fully explained. I think it's supposed to be just like,
Her watching him through the side.
maybe, or maybe just like a creepy feeling. So the very beginning when he sees the dog and parrot, what does he say?
He thinks it's
Oh, it was nice.
What term that we learned last week would this be a good?
Irony.
There you go.
Irony.
So the thing that gets him to
Irony.
stay is the thing that gets him killed. He
It's
sees that.
irony. Old people iron things.
Right? She's gonna iron it. No, it's not working.
Iron his clothes. And then
As she opens the door, as soon as he rings the bell,
She's been waiting for him, but that doesn't make any sense because she hasn't.
I have a feeling she just creepily watches out through the
That's probably why he
door.
felt like old people.
I think that's probably why he felt the eyes. waiting in his room is all ready for him. I don't know
Because
if she's a witch.
I think she is a
No,
witch.
no,
They
because
never-
her hands and her fingernails.
No, she
They
keeps
said that.
it stays ready because nobody ever gets to sleep in it because they're already dead.
And that'd probably be a good point too. I mean, for all we know, he never actually tested to see if the water bottle was actually warm. For all we know, it was just like a fake water bottle sitting in the bed.
It could
And
just
she
be
just
empty.
always keeps it pulled back. And then she was like, "Don't test it. Trust me, it's warm. I swear." And then she goes ahead from there. And so it was just a way of trying to trick him into it.
Even if he was leaving, that would be
So, and then yes, at the very beginning, you
The
guys
ice
mentioned.
knife and death air.
There you go. At the very beginning, it opens up with it talking about death and knife against his throat and stuff like that.
It is
And the
so
fact that she
interesting.
stuffs him. So I told you, there is a definite ending. And not only does he die,
He
but
gets taxidermied.
he becomes a stuffed little
What
person.
if it actually isn't poison? What if it actually isn't the stuff?
And we're just like completely misreading all of it. And she's just an innocent older lady. It could be. You're all a bunch of haters on there. So, to go through and take a look at the climax exposition thing, since we just freshly finished the story and it's in your mind, I'm going to see if you can figure these out.
God.
I'm going to read through them.
I like
and see
these
if you
types of stories.
can- Ones that involve creepiness and death?
Yes.
Well, wait
No,
till
the
you get
one
to the one
that you gotta
next week.
figure out that.
The drama.
They're not getting one suspense.
Does it just get worse and worse every time?
Yeah.
You say worse, I say better. It's weird how you look at these things.
But like worse, like
I go for more memorable as it goes along. So here's our 5 parts of our story. We have Billy begins to think he recognizes the names in the book, and the landlady keeps distracting him as he drinks the tea. We now know the landlady likes to stuff things, which allows us to use imagination and figure out what will happen to Billy. Billy Weaver is a 17-year-old on his way into a new town looking for a place to stay. The landlady explains the names and how it is all normal. And the landlady explains her place and her rules and has Billy sign the book, but some things seem odd about it all. So figure out which one you think is exposition.
Yes.
Ready? Yeah. 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 Alright, I agree. After exposition is
Rising action.
make your choices. Yeah. Come on. Silly. This one. This one. I would agree. After rising action is? Huh? 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 I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
This is the climax. Then after climax is? And the problem with this one is the fact that the climax is so close to the end. Yeah. And I would agree. Your last one is?
Resolution. I feel like that doesn't really count. It's a very high stakes resolution.
I would agree on that one too. By the way, if you get a chance to talk to the kids in my regular class, you should ask them about the story they got to read. Because theirs was,
creepy.
yeah, it was about a kid who gets into a bet with an old man he runs into, and the old man says, if you can light a lighter 10 times, then you get this brand new car I have. And if you lose, fun things happen. No, even better than that. All right, I'll tell you. If you lose, he gets to cut off a finger. And so,
Can you just keep playing?
no, you just have to light a lighter 10 times. And if you miss the lighter, so it's I bring it in like this. So it's a lighter like this, and you have to chew, no,
Lost.
light it, and then it's because it's been sitting in my pocket
Well, can you just keep playing the game?
Like
What
that?
happens if you lose all your fingers?
Why do you keep a lighter on you?
for the story. And so I bring it out for the story. I keep it in my closet back over there. And then you have to light it 10 times, and if one time you try to light it and it sparks, chunk, you get your finger cut off.
What
And
happens
so,
if all your fingers get chopped off? Do you go to your toes?
find out. That's how our story goes. I've not told the kids yet. We've not gotten to the end of it. Whenever.
You would send me a copy of that story. I'm actually very interested.
Can I have the lighter?
No.
Don't.
Wally.
Yes, put on your forehead.
You keep the
Don't say those are data lighters.
Do I what?
You keep the lighter to dispose of the dead bodies.
No.
Is that like
Keep
an
it to
earpiece?
demonstrate the story.
He has it on his face. Thank you.
Tomorrow we have another very, very interesting day. Run away!